The Shiz Elin Mishmas, Osher Shmuel Chaim and Ephraim V'Tiona, Esther Basara, Tzvi ben Chaim Pesach, William and Helen, Nishmas Rochel Bas Yosef, David ben Abraham, and Yitzchak ben Sarah, Devorah Bas Yitzchak, Avraham ben Mordechai David, Ruvain ben Shmuel, Chana Golda Bas Yisrael, Chaim ben Fege, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Yeshua ben Shmuel, Leila Nishmas Fred ben Richard, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Zalman Lei ben Moshe, Amichai ben Yaakov, Leila Nishmatam. Let's take a look at the Haftorah that we're going to read this Shabbos from the book of Micha. It's the Haftorah. Yehuda, what page would that be? In the Birnbaum 409. Thank you, Benjamin. On 409 in the Birnbaum Chumash, and in the Art Scroll it's 11 something. I know that. And we'll see how it fits into current events, and of course how it fits into the Torah. In the 1100s in the Blue Book, the Haftorah of Balak. In the Haftorah, what page again? In the Birnbaum is what? 409 in the Birnbaum. 1189 in the Blue Book. Haftorah is Balak from the book of Micha. From the book of Micha. So he starts off. This is a prophecy for the Messianic era. But before he gets there, in chapter 6, Pasuk 4, into the Haftorah, chapter 6, Pasuk 4. You have that, Benjamin? He says, this is God speaking through the mouth of Micha, Ki eliticha me'eretz Mitzrayim. I, God, brought you up out of the land of Egypt. U'mibeis avodim pedisicha, and from the house of slaves I redeemed you. Ve'eshtach lefanecha, and I sent to redeem you at Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. God is an equal opportunity employer, Elisheva. God is an equal opportunity employer. God does not discriminate, Rav Nachum. He wouldn't tell a lady in the number 1 bus, get to the back of the bus. No, God would not do that. God is a gentleman. What's amazing here, that there were 3 co-captains that took us out of Egypt. People think it's only Moses and Aaron. But the prophet, God says clearly, Ve'eshal chafanecho et Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam.
That's good.
Now, why is Miriam mentioned last? We know Achron Chaviv, Nechama. When does the Viennese table come? At the end of the meal. Your life is short, you should begin with dessert, because you never know. But she was the oldest. Why is she mentioned last? There's a klal, achron chaviv, saving the best for last. You ever go to a movie, you see all the credits of the movie? Whose name is mentioned last? The director and the star. That's right, Sarah. Directed by, and the star is always kept for last.
Usually it's the accountant.
Not the accountant, no. The credits. The very end, directed by and starring Kirk Douglas, or whatever. So anyway, amazing that God puts Miriam's name last as a co-captain, because Achron Chaviv. And this explains why Miriam had to die in the desert. She was not involved in hitting the rock. I am a rock. She was not involved. What offense did she commit that she had to die in the Midbar? Avi, the answer is, remember the Titanic? Captain Smith had a place on the lifeboat. But he said, I can't take that place because a captain goes down with the ship. So it wouldn't be fair that the other co-captains and the crew go down and Miriam should survive. It's not fair. A captain goes down with the crew. Who was the crew? The 600,000 Jews. So therefore, Abraham, even though she didn't do anything, she paid for her sin of speaking Lashon Hara. Leprosy, once you pay for your sin, you become better. But the Medrash says that since she's an equal co-captain with Moshe and Aaron, and remember Captain Smith in the Titanic, it wouldn't be fair for her to remain while her crew and her ship go down. And another reason the Medrash says that those 600,000 people that didn't make it. They're buried somewhere in the Sinai desert. When it comes to Tchiyat HaMeitim, what merit will they have? It's the merit of Moshe and Aaron and Miriam. Because they did terrible sin with the Chet HaEgel and the Meraglim, and this week's Parsha, the wild Moabite women. They don't, so in order to get resurrected, therefore the captains remain behind. So when Tchiyat HaMeitim comes and Moshe and Aaron and Miriam wake up, it's the same neighborhood. So therefore, Mimela, they're going to bring Abraham, their crew, with them. Wow. Who's the crew? Golda, the 600,000, right? So again, you see that captain is responsible for the ship and the crew. Okay. Now look at the very last pasuk of the Haftorah, Nechama. God speaking through the mouth of Micha. Higid lecha Adam, it is told to you, human being, ma tov. In the Parsha, Bilam says ma tovu. We'll get to that. So here, no coinky dinky that they picked this Haftorah, Reb Nachum. There's plenty of books there. If you want to pass back a couple of books, if you need. Higid lecha Adam, it is told to you, mensch ma tov. In the Haftorah, Bilam says ma tovu alecha Yaakov. And it's strange that we begin every davening with wild Bilam's words. We'll get to that. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov. And here, almost the same words, this time the mouth of Micha, Higid lecha Adam, it is told to you, mensch ma tov. What does God consider good? Uma Hashem darish mimcha. What does Hashem seek from you? Not much. Ki im, but only asot mishpat, do justice, ahavas chesed, do acts of loving kindness, v'atznei alechet im elahecha, and to walk modestly with your God. Before I get to that, the three leaders, Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam, the three gifts that the Jewish people had in the Midbar was Neschus of the three leaders. Because of Moshe, we got the man. Because of Aaron, we got the Anani Yakovot. And because of Miriam, we got the Be'er. So when Miriam died...
Each letter of the first name was the letter of the thing that they get.
It's amazing. Moshe, man. No, Anani Yakovot is an aleph, not an ayin. Ayin aleph. And Miriam, the mayim. Right. But anyway, when Miriam died, the magic well dried up. When Aaron died, the magic clouds dried up. And when Moshe died, the donuts from heaven, the donuts, Dunkin' Donuts from heaven, the man stopped. Okay. All right, make him okay. Moshe and Aaron and Miriam, each co-captain contributed what? Now, very strange pasuk 8, Rabbi Avram, very famous pasuk. It is told to you, how do I translate that in English? It is told to you, human being?
He has told you, oh man. What
not man. Adam doesn't mean man. Ish means man. Adam means mensch.
Tell you what it says.
Higid lecha Adam, it is told to you, human being, ma tov. What does God consider good? Uma Hashem elakecha darish mimcha. And what does Hashem seek from you? Ki im, but only asot mishpat. Do acts of what? Justice. V'havas chesed. Do acts of loving kindness. V'hatznei alechet im elahecha. And to walk modestly with your God. The word hatznei from the word tzniut. Tzniut is not only, surely, the way a person dresses. Of course, it includes dressing, but Chanoch, it's much more than that. Tzniut, of course it's dress, but it's more than that. It's the way a person behaves, and the way you're the perfect example of tzniut, your modesty. It's a person's personality, not to call press conferences, to call attention to yourself. It's amazing, Sarah. In Mishlei 31, Eishes Chayil Miyimtza, da-da-da, da-da-da. I'm not give up my day job, Sarah. I don't care what you say. I will not give up my day job. Eishes Chayil Miyimtza, Mishlei 31, it says, Vatischa, it says, Vatokam ba'od laila. She, the Eishes Chayil, gets up and does her chesed at night. What is she, an insomniac? Every Friday night, Avram, we sing that. Vatokam ba'oid laila. She, the Eishes Chayil, gets up at night. Let her take some sleeping pills. What do you mean? She can't sleep? When she gets up at night? Surely, insomniac. No, what does Shlomo HaMelech mean? The Eishes Chayil does a lot of chesed, but she does it, doesn't mean balayla. It means when people don't know about it. Don't brag, don't boast. It's enough that he knows. Hatzniut, don't call attention to yourself. Put an ad in the Jewish press, a press conference, check me out. Look how much chesed I did today. Fatokam ba'oid laila, Benjamin. You know that? It's a strange phrase there. She gets up at night. No, night, it's a metaphor when people don't know. She does chesed, but she does it in a tsanua way. That's Judaism.
It seems to contradict the trend today with social media and Facebook and everything.
That's right. Yeah. You're right, Benjamin, right? Everybody has to know your business. I mean, you sneeze, you put it on Facebook. Right? That's not the... And we're going to get to that, Benjamin. We're going to stay tuned. We're going to stay tuned to that. So, but before we get there, Benjamin, I have a problem. There's something missing here. This is what all God wants from a Jew. To do justice, to love chesed, and to be a tzenua. Abraham, where is Shmirat Shabbat and Kashrut? Didn't Micha forget something? Nechama, are you with me? He's quoting the boss. Do justice, love to do chesed, and be a tzenua, be modest, right? I don't see Shmirat Shabbat here, Masha. I don't see Kashrut here. Didn't the prophet forget? Hello?
It means justice. It means that you
Mishpat means justice. The word mishpat means ben adam lechavero. Ask any Ulpan teacher. So I don't see any Shabbos, Kashrut, Taharat HaMishpacha. Benjamin, we got a problem here, but no. Look at the word Ahavas Chesed. Chesed, normally understood, ben Adam Lechavero. To do chesed to a fellow Jew, a fellow human being, is to what? Give him what he needs. But I'm also Jewish. How do you do chesed for yourself? By keeping Shabbat and eating kosher, I'm doing chesed for myself. I'm also a Jew. The guy in the mirror, remember me? So Ahavat chesed, how do you do chesed for a fellow Yidel? By giving him what he needs. Tzedakah, a smile, a helping hand, right? Doesn't cost any money to smile, right? It's a chesed. But I'm also Jewish, Mickey. I got to do chesed for myself. How does a person do chesed for himself? Keeping Shabbat, eating kosher, taras hamishpacha, etc., not wearing shatnez. That's chesed for myself. Chesed for the zulat is to do ben adam lechavero. Chesed for yourself, ben adam leneshama shelo. So he got it covered here, nechama. He's covered, okay? Now Benjamin mentioned something incredible here. I mean, the Parsha of the week always speaks to current events. If you go to the Parsha, we have the book, so as the good book says, remember? If you go to the Parsha, Bamidbar 24, Pasuk 2. Bamidbar 24, Pasuk 2, Bilam lifted up his eyes. Doesn't it say that?
Page 869 of the Haaretz.
And then I don't know, Birnbaum, I don't know what it is, but it's...
Balaam raised his eyes.
Bilam raised his eyes. Bamidbar 24:1. Bilam raised his eyes. Why is that important? 24:2. Bamidbar 24:2.
You said 869, it's not 869.
Yes, it is.
Just look at Bamidbar 24:2, right?
The Haaretz was 869.
It is the Birnbaum book. Which one? 254 in the Birnbaum. Bilam raised his eyes. Why is that important? Says Rashi, he wanted to put the ayin ra on the Yidden. I put a spell on you. Bamidbar 24:2. Right? There are plenty of Birnbaums if you want them. So Rashi said he wanted to put the ayin ra in the Jewish people, but he couldn't. Why couldn't he? Why couldn't he? Because Sholchein Lishvatav, he saw the Jews dwelling by their tribes. Says Rashi, his ayin hara was not affected because he saw that the Yidden, their doors of their house and the windows were not open where each one can what? Look in and peek in. Oh, his crystal chandelier, what is, his 39-inch new giant flat TV screen. They were tsenua. They were not bragging. They were not boasting. They were keeping a modest, low profile, not peaking, not trying to outdo the other, keep up with the Schwartzes or keep up with the Joneses. And therefore what? The ayin hara was not effective. And today people try to show off and brag. They buy a new car and they buy a new diamond tennis bracelet and they wave it in your face. Oh, gee. Right? They buy a new Mercedes and they drive it around the block 9 times. Beep, 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 beep. In Yiddish, sagt man a Aufschneider in Yiddish. Lo yaleinu, a person opens himself, lo yaleinu, to ayin hara. Never. It's a boomerang. Rab Chanoch, you have to keep a low profile. You know this better than all of us. A low profile, you do a lot, but you're quiet about it. It's enough that he knows, the big boss. So therefore, Bilam's ayin hara could not what? Be effective. Now, if you look at Bamidbar 24, Pasuk 5, the same chapter, Bamidbar 24, 5. Ma tovu alecho Yaakov mishkanatecha Yisrael. Very famous, we opened up every davening with that. Bamidbar 24, 5. How good are your tents, Yaakov? Mishkanasecha Yisrael. So why does Bilam, Wild Bill, why does he merit that we opened up every davening with what? Quoting him, Matov Alecha Yaakov.
Hashem put the words in his mouth.
Still, but couldn't God pick a mensch, not a lowlife like that? We have to quote him every Shabbat, every morning. Matov Alecha Yaakov. Every day we say it. You know why we say it every day? Rashi says, his evil eye was not affected. He said, how good are your tents, Yaakov? Rashi says again, he saw that their tents were not set up where each one can what? Peek in. In Yiddish say a kochleffel. Right, Evelyn? A kochleffel. What's doing by Yenim a kochleffel? Right, Lillian? What? Ayenta, I think it's called. Right? So that's the antidote against ayin hara. That's why we open up the davening. This idea is the antidote for ayin hara. To be happy and content with your oholecha, with your tent. Not to resent the other. He has a bigger house, a fancier car, right? Be a tsenua, not just in dress, in all of life, to be happy with what? With what you have. And that's the greatest protection, Avi, against what? Ayin hara. And therefore we open up every davening with this. Be happy with what you have in your tent. Some people just are never satisfied because they think the grass is greener. They can't be happy with what they have because they're always looking what the other guy has. That's ayin hara lo yaleinu. Be happy what's in your tent. Be happy with your mishkan. And every Jewish home is a mishkan, or it should be. Every Jewish home is a mishkan, or it should be. It's just amazing that according to Kabbalah, the Jewish home resembles a mishkan. What do you have in the mishkan? A shulchan. So you have a shulchan, right? A mizbeach. Your table's the mizbeach, right? Your table's the mizbeach. That's the kodesh. And amazing. So the mishkan is divided into two: the kodesh and kodesh hakadoshim. So in the kodesh you have what? You have the shulchan. You have the mizbach hazav. So we have a table in our kodesh. Our table's the mizbeach, right? And the lechem upon him, the showbread. We give guests. That's our mizbeach. By having guests in your home, that's a kapara, like the mizbeach. That's the kodesh. But the Mishkan also had a Kodesh HaKadoshim. Behind the curtain, the Holy of Holies, Where's the Kodesh Kadoshim in a Jewish home? The bedroom. Behind the curtain. The bedroom is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Therefore, inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you had what? Lovey-dovey lovebirds were what? In a loving embrace. You look at the Gemara and Yuma, they were in an erotic position. In the Kodesh HaKadoshim, one lovebird had a face and figure of a man, the other had the face and figure of what? A woman, and they were in a lovey-dovey erotic embrace. That's the symbol of the Jewish bedroom. When husband and wife come together right now, in Kedusha v'Tahara, that's Kodesh Kadoshim. Therefore, the act of getting married is called Kiddushin. Isn't that bizarre? In the first mitzvah in the Torah, it's not bizarre. They had the face of a boy and a girl, children in a loving embrace, where children are produced in the Jewish bedroom, which should be Kodesh HaKadoshim. And therefore, since the marital act is Kodesh Kadoshim, therefore, if it's done improperly, it's the worst sin. You see, Zeh l'umat zeh osor lehim. Remember Koheles? Zeh l'umat zeh osor lehim. Where there's great potential for Kedusha, there's great potential for what? For Tumah. Since the marital act, if it's done properly, is what? Kodesh, not just Kodesh, Kodesh Kadoshim. So therefore, the intimate act of intimacy, if it's not done under the right conditions, it becomes what? The worst sin. Elisheva, that's not a koinky dinky. Gili arayot, yahoreg v'yavor. Because if the act is done properly, it's kiddushin. Zeh l'umat zeh osor lehim. So therefore, if it's done improperly, it becomes gili arayot, one of the three cardinal sins. But this is the idea that a person should be happy with his Mishkan. My house is my Mishkan. Kodesh, Kodesh, Kadosh. What are you looking? Something that's not yours. That's ayin hara lo yaleinu. Right? Looking what the other guy has. The other guy. That's why one of the 10 Commandments is lo tachmod. Sarah, very strange. The 10 Commandments: don't murder, don't commit adultery, lo tachmod, don't desire. So Evan Ezra has a question. I understand murder and adultery and kidnapping. How does lo tachmod, don't desire someone else's property, how does that rank in the top 10? It doesn't seem to be what? Such a bad sin that it's up there with the top 10 Commandments. Lo tachmod. Don't desire. What's so bad? Don't covet, don't desire. What's so bad? Says Evan Ezra. You know why it's so bad? If I really believe that God runs the world, how could I even desire what the other guy has? If I believed God's in charge and God gives everyone exactly what they need, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. If I really believe that, how can I desire? Says Evan Ezra, it betrays the person has no amunah. He's an apikoris. Because if I believe God gives everyone exactly what they need, he needs a Mercedes and I need a bicycle. If I needed a Mercedes for my tikkun, I'd get a Mercedes. No one takes on his own. So therefore, to be jealous of someone else's possession means the person has no amunah. He's an apikoris, even though he wears maybe a black hat. Hashem's in charge. Everyone gets exactly what they need for their tikkun. His tikkun needs a swimming pool in the backyard. And my tikkun needs what? An empty garage in the backyard. So if you live like that, if you really believe that God's in charge, what a wonderful world it would be. Right? So all the problems come from desiring what's not yours, which betrays a lack of what? Emunah. Of trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You don't believe that he runs the show? Because if you did, there's no reason to be what? Jealousy, lo yaleinu, boomerangs into what? Into ayin hara. It's amazing how the Parsha of the week always speaks to current events. We go back to Bamidbar 22. Every Jew at 22. Bamidbar 22, Pasuk 4. Moab was very afraid of the Jewish people, very afraid, right? Kiravhu. Moab was very afraid. Why was he very afraid? Why was Abu Mamzer so afraid, Sarah? If you look at Bamidbar 22:3, Moab was very afraid of the Jewish people, Kiravhu. Is that proper digduk? Should have said Kiravhaim. They were many. It says he was many. That's what the Hebrew says. What do you mean he was many? That's why Moab was not just afraid, but very afraid. When the Jewish people unite as one, then Abu Mamzer has reason to be afraid. When the Jews unite, ish echad be'eva echad. So Kiravhu, it should have said they were many. It says he was many. Even though there were many Yidden, at this point they were united. And then the PLO has reason to be not just afraid, but what? Very afraid. Very afraid. They sense Kiravhu, not Kiravhaim. It's not a typo. Ulpan 103, right? I don't know how the English translate that, but that's what the Hebrew says. So what does he do in verse 4? By Midbar 22:4, he sends a deputation to whom? To Midian. Let's unite to annihilate the Jewish state, the Jewish people. So Rashi's puzzled. Midian and Moab were bitter enemies. Check Bereshis 36. Midian and Moab were bitter enemies. What's going on over here? But their hatred for Israel was so strong that they united. Today, you have the Sunnis and the Shiites. They hate each other's guts. When it comes to Israel, they unite in their hatred. So you have Midian and Moab. So Rashi says, even though they were enemies, they united in their hatred for what? For Israel. Now, who was Bilam? He was a spiritual hitman, right? Right? He was a prophet. Amazing that he was a pagan, and yet Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him prophecy in order to what? That the Goyim shouldn't say, if we had a prophet, then what? We'd also be good.
What kind of prophet did he prophesy for the Goyim?
It doesn't say what he prophesies for the Goyim, but it says what he prophesies for us. But why would God give prophecy to such an evil person?
Maybe.
That's the question. Why? Why? Again, the pasuk in Kehela, Zeh lu'umat zeh osher lahim, where God created good, but he also has to create the potential for evil. If not, we'd be what?
Angel.
Puppets. And God doesn't want no puppets on a string, Nechama. God wants partners. So therefore, God has to allow evil to operate like Bilam, that we should choose, right? To become partners and not puppets, to develop our own potential. No pain, no gain. So therefore, there has to be an evil wild bill or abomination. The only way to develop our potential muscles, spiritual muscles, in spirituality is to have an Obama, to have a Bilam, and to what? To know what to reject and know what to go for, right? So you have to choose properly, right? You have to choose properly to make that choice. In this one, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, or they go shopping, you make the call, right? So anyway, we have the strange story here of Bilam and his talking donkey. The donkey literally made an ass out of Bilam. Right? Very strange. Look at Bamidbar 22:28.
Proves that God has a sense of humor.
Right? Bamidbar 22:28, God opened up the mouth of the donkey. Remember Mr. Ed? God opened up the mouth of the donkey, right? And he said to Bilam, she said, why did you beat me 3 times, right? Very strange. Why does God do this? Why does God? A miracle is done for a purpose. Why did God make this tremendous miracle to have Mr. Donkey speak to Bilam? What's the purpose? Or Chaim HaKadosh says that Bilam was an arrogant SOB, stuck up, Because he had the gift of gab. He spoke, he could mesmerize you with his mouth. Either Shirley? So he was such a balgaiva, arrogant, such a great orator. So God said to him, if I want, a donkey can beat you in a debate. What do you got to be proud of? Hashem gives you the gift. Why are you so stuck up and arrogant? If Hashem wants, even a donkey can debate you and win. So to cut him down to size, right? He should get off his high horse. Therefore God did this miracle, his high donkey, so to have a donkey beat him in the debate, right? Yeah. To put him in his place. To put him in his place. Now, the Rambam's opinion is that this entire encounter with the donkey took place in a dream. The Rambam in the Moreh Nevuchim, Rashi doesn't agree. Rashi said it took place in the physical world, but the Rambam has two strong proofs that this encounter with the donkey took place in a prophetic dream. Bilam dreamed it, or he went into a trance. Number one, Sarah, says Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim, if a donkey talks to you, why doesn't Bilam have a heart attack? I should freak out. No, he answers calmly. Oh, I wish I had a sword in my hand, I would have killed you. I mean, if a donkey talks to you, wouldn't you freak out? Bilam takes it very calmly. So Rambam says, you see, it was only in a prophetic dream or trance. Raya number two, where he was traveling with a great entourage. Where's there? Says Rambam. It's him and the donkey. What are the other guys out to lunch? So Rambam says another raya that this doesn't make it any less real, Nechama. A prophetic dream, what's reality? Is the physical world more real than a spiritual world? We make a mistake. What's reality? The physical world or the spiritual world? So the dream happened inside Bilam's head, which is a prophetic dream or trance. In the spiritual world, Chanoch, that doesn't make it any less real than the physical world. But this would explain why Bilam doesn't freak out and where are the whole entourage of Moabite and Midianite, how do you say, interferers? Interferers. Who knows Yiddish here? Associates, right? Rashi doesn't agree. Rashi said it took place what? And all the other Rishonim say it took place in the physical world. Now who's right, Sarah? They're both right. That's right. And you're also right. Elu v'elu divlim chayim. Rashi is right that it took place in the physical world. Rambam is right. It also took place in a dream as well. It took place simulcast. Rabbi Abraham, we make a mistake. When Rambam and Rashi disagree, they're both right. It's taking place simultaneously in the physical world and the spiritual world. In the physical world, and also he had this dream or this trance that he went into. The only prophet that prophesied awake was holy Moses, says Rambam. All the other prophets were either what? Sleeping or in a trance. Doesn't make it any less real. We have to remember that, Elisheva. It doesn't make it any less real. Okay? So, it's just amazing that the clearest prophecy of the Mashiach in the Chumash is said by whom? Wild Bill Bilam. Very strange. There is no prophecy as explicit about the Mashiach as Wild Bill. Couldn't God find a Yiddish prophet? Take a look in Bamidbar 24. Bamidbar 24, Pasuk 17. Just 17. And Bamidbar 24:17. He's speaking about Mashiach, the way Onkelos translates it. Bamidbar 24, I see him,
Shall see.
but not now. Because when he said this, Mashiach was not now. I behold him, but he's not close. 3,300 years ago, he wasn't close. Dorach Kochav Miyakov. A star will step out of Yaakov. Sarah, that's why the Jews invented Hollywood. a star will step out of Yaakov. Star is born. And a ruler will arise in Israel, says Onkelos. Who's the ruler? Mashiach Yisrael. Look at Onkelos. Those that have Onkelos on the side, Yud Zayin, V'Yisraba Mashiach Yisrael. And the Mashiach will come not from J.C. Penney, Mashiach Yisrael. Wild Bill says, if a Jew would say it, get lost. This is Michael Jackson talking. This is their superhero. The Yisraba Mashiach Yisrael. And he will smite all the chiefs of Moab. The Zohar says Moab is whom? The PLO. Moab is Ishmael. And he will rule all the children of mankind. Why the children of mankind called Shet? In English it's Seth. Adam had Cain, Hevel, and Shet. Why is the children of mankind called the children of Shet? Because, Sarah, Shet in Hebrew means foundation. You know why, Sarah? Hevel got killed, he had no kids. All of Cain's kids, they all were washed out. The new Adam, Noah, comes from whom? Shes. Therefore, all mankind is called what? The children of Shes. Because Noah, the new Adam, Nechama, was a descendant of Shes. Foundation. So therefore, Bilam prophesied that the Mashiach will come not in the Vatican, Mashiach will come in Israel, destroy the chiefs of the PLO, and rule all the children of mankind. Now, if a Jewish prophet would say that, they'd laugh him out of town. But if Wild Bill says it, if that pervert says it, then when the time comes, they'll have to believe him, yes?
Sorry, who were Seth's parents?
Adam had Cain, Hevel, and Shes.
He was almost survived. His children.
1 minute. Hevel got killed, no kids. All of Cain's kids were destroyed in the flood. Noah and his family come from Shes.
There's a teacher that said
They come from Shes. So therefore, mankind is called B'nai Shes.
Noah's wife was a daughter of Cain, so that
Well,
they continued on.
I know, B'nai Shes. Noah comes from Shes. You look at the genealogy in the end of Bereshis, you see that Noah is a direct descendant of Shes. He's the new Adam, starting over, right? The first Adam literally was a washout. Washout. Okay, where was I? So, the clearest prophecy for Mashiach is Wild Bill. Look what a glorious future he prophesies for Israel. Mashiach Yisrael. Right? So when the time comes, the Goyim will have no choice but to what? Toe the line, because it's not a Yiddish prophet, not even a decent, it's Michael Jackson talking. I mean, Wild Bill, this is their hero, the pervert. Now, how will Mashiach come? Now, Abraham, you came just to now hear this. Now hear this. How will Mashiach come? If you look in the book of Daniel, my brother, no, that doesn't mix me up. That's Zechariah. Abraham, you're ahead of me. You look in the book of Daniel, my brother, Mashiach will come riding on clouds. Daniel. Supernaturally. Don't mix me up. Zechariah says, forget about it. He'll come riding on a Volvo. I mean a donkey. Now, Rashi and Rambam can argue. Abai and Rava can argue. Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Shmuel can argue. But Nevi'im can't argue. Nevi'im can't argue. Daniel says he's going to come supernaturally, riding on a superstar. They got that from us. Superstar. And Zechariah says, forget about it. He'll come derech hateva. Chamor doesn't mean Avraham. You think he's really going to be a chamor? Prophets speak in metaphor. He'll be riding on Chomer. What does Chomer mean? Materialism. Going to run for office, make campaign speeches, get on the internet. He'll come b'Chomer. probably have a Mercedes, maybe a Cadillac. But it's a metaphor, chomer. But wait a minute. Daniel says he's going to come, what? Supernaturally. Zechariah says, forget about it, he's going to come, what? Derech HaTeva. So they're both right.
A flying car.
No, not the flying nun. Remember Abraham and Sarah. Whatever, the Rambam says, anything that's a Navi has to have a source where? In the Chumash. A Navi cannot invent a new doctrine, Golda. Whatever is in the Nevi'im must have a Makor where? In the Chumash. Says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, where is Daniel and Zechariah coming from? Wild Bill. Wild Bill already laid out plan A and plan B. Please hear me well. Wild Bill is just his mouthpiece. Says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh in 24:17, I behold him, but he's not close. 3,000 years ago, he wasn't close. Dorach kocha b'Yakov. Dorach, from the word derech hateva. Mashiach will come either derech hateva, or he'll come kochav. What does kochav mean? Riding a star. How Mashiach comes depends on us. He'll come. If we have schusim, then he'll come like Daniel. But before Daniel, Wild Bill. He'll come kochav, supernaturally. If we have no schusim, chas v'sholem, he'll still come, but he'll come dorach, derech hateva, like Zechariah, Chanoch. It's beautiful, it's all here. The Nevi'im are not arguing. He'll come. How he comes, you make the call. If we have schusim, he'll come kochav, like Daniel, riding on clouds, stars. If we have no schusim nebech, he'll still come, but he'll come dorach. Dorach from derech hateva, or derech eretz. Derech hateva, derech eretz. What does derech eretz mean? The natural course of events, like Zechariah riding the chomer. Avi, it's not a literal donkey.
Why will he come if we have no
Because God promised the Avos that there's an end game.
Yeah, but
He promised the Avos even if we have no schusim nechama, he'll still come, but he'll come riding a chomer. Might be a Volvo, but chomer, in material way, the derech, which means derech hateva, or it means derech eretz. Derech eretz means what? The way of the world. So who's right? Is Zechariah right or is Daniel right? They're both right. It depends on what? Us. Come, he'll come. How he comes, Reb Nachum? We make the call. But you see, Daniel and Zechariah can't say anything if it's not already found where? Where? In the Chumash. That's pretty amazing. Right? That's pretty amazing. Now, very strange, at the end of the Parsha, this is 40 years after the Exodus. The Jews have seen such tremendous miracles for 40 years. Magic clouds, magic donuts from heaven, magic wells. What happened here? They start to commit adultery with the wild Moabite women? And where were the Rebbitzins?
Where were the Rabbanim?
Where were the wives? The wives should have come with the rolling pins and bop them on the head. How is it possible? 40 years after the Exodus, seeing all the miracles. What did you learn in 40 years? Therefore, you never find Moshe crying. In all the 40 years, he fought like a lion for them. Here he breaks down and he begins to weep. Why? This is 40 years later. All the other times, the sins of the old generation, they didn't know better. They grew up in the red light district in Cairo. What did they know? So Moshe fought like better than Perry Mason. This is better than Alan Dershowitz, defending them. Here, he breaks down and he cries. You know why, Golda? They didn't grow up in Cairo. Where did they grow up? In his koilel. In his koilel. A better Rosh Hashiva than Moshe Aaron. And all the miracles they saw, didn't they learn anything in 40 years? They can do this? He breaks down and weeps. That's what the text says. 25:6. Couldn't stop crying. But now we get back to, how could they do this? Huh? How could they boogie with the wild Moabite women? So the answer, the Gemara Megillah says, look at 25:1. Vayeshev Yisrael Bashitim. What does that mean? 25:1. Israel sat in Shittim. Does that say that?
Yeah.
How do they translate that?
Settled.
Settled? It means sat. Literally. What do they have there, Abraham? Birnbaum?
It says staying.
Staying. Vayeshev means to stagnate. Says the Gemara Megillah, no matter how great a person is, if he rests on his laurels, I steiged enough. I grew enough spiritually, I could kick off my shoes and go rock a little bit on the porch. That's when the Yetzer Hara gets you. No matter how great you are, once you vayeshev, when you begin to rest on your laurels, to stagnate, I did enough already. Let me enjoy a little, take a day off. That's when the Satan gets you. A person can never rest on his laurels, because Yaakov saw a ladder in his dream. Nechama, why a ladder? Because on a ladder, if you're not climbing up, you're automatically climbing down. Nobody takes a coffee break on a ladder. It's amazing why Yaakov saw a ladder. It's only Yaakov wouldn't be in the Torah. It's every one of us. That's us. If you're not climbing up, you're automatically climbing down. They said, I climbed enough, I want to take a coffee break. You take a coffee break on a ladder, dum-da-dum-dum, the wild Moabite women are waiting for you. But it's more than that. It's more than that. This devious Bilam, he blessed the Yidden with beautiful blessings, but in the blessing, he gave them a shtech. Look at this, Sarah, by Midbar 23, Pasuk 21. By Midbar 23:21. God see, by Midbar 23:21. Are we there? Yeah. Rabbi, can you read that? How Birnbaum translate that? 23:21.
23:21.
Yeah. God sees no sin in Yaakov. Right. What? Yeah. God sees.
He has not looked for iniquity in Yaakov, nor has he seen trouble in Israel.
Right.
God is with him.
God sees no evil in Yaakov, and God sees no sin in Israel. Hashem, his God, is with him, and the friendship and the love of the king is always with him. Says Rashi, even when the Jewish people rebel and make God angry, I can't stop loving you. That's Rashi, Benjamin. Even when we make God angry, rebel again, Eino zaz mitochan, he never leaves us. Truas melech, mazet truat melech. How do they say that in English? Yehuda, truat melech bo. Friendship of the king, right? Verse 21. Rashi says, Loshen chiba v'reyut. Even when we make God angry and rebel against him, God continues to love us and hug us. The Yidden heard this, Benjamin. They said, let's boogie with the Moabite girls. Right? Yep. It's like they got a license to sin. Shirley, you have to understand the mindset. They heard this prophecy, Wild Bill. He broadcast it on the big PA system. Well, no matter what I do, God sees no evil and hears no evil in Israel. God's love is unconditional, which is true, Benjamin. God's love is unconditional. And no matter what we do, God will never stop loving us. But there's a tough love there. But they took this prophecy and they twisted it. Well, if that's the case, let's boogie with the girls. God will never stop loving. It's true he'll never stop loving me. But he won't allow us to self-destruct. A parent sees a child shooting up heroin, right, about to drive off a cliff. The parent doesn't demonstrate tough love. he really doesn't love the child. So when God punishes, it's because he loves us. It's tough love. It's all love. But I'm going to let you destroy yourself? I love you too much for that. I love you too much for that. But they use this prophecy, Sarah. You see, when a person can twist things around, oh, it's a license to sin. God loves me regardless, which is true. His love is unconditional, which is true. He'll never leave me, even when a Jew sins. God is there, but tough love. Not a punishment, it's tough love. And a terrible plague broke out. A terrible plague broke out, and 24,000 Jews were what? Died in the plague. And Pinchas, see the maftir? Bamidbar 25. Bamidbar 25, verse 8. You have that? Bamidbar 25, 8. Anybody read it in English? Don't all answer at once. Elisheva? Bamidbar 25, 8. Towards the end of the parsha. Pinchas saw, and he came after them into the tent. And what does the English say? He stabbed them both? What do you have, Avram? What does the Birbam say?
He took a spear in his hand and followed the Israelites into the tent and stabbed both of them.
He stabbed both of them.
Right through their abdomen. And the epidemic
stopped. So Pinchas, he took the spear and he stabbed them both. He stabbed the Jewish man and the non-Jewish woman. He made her a shiksabab.
That's
Shiksabab.
Oh, that's funny.
What a way to go. But if Pinchas didn't do what he did, the entire Jewish people would have been what? What about God's promise to Abraham? He would have started over with Moshe. Moshe comes from Abraham. God would have started over with the Levites. Right? The Levites were not involved. It was only Shevet Shimon, by the way. Shoshana, did you know that? It was only Shevet Shimon. Because Shimon's camp was next to the red light district. Rashi says that all 24,000 victims were Shevet Shimon. Why? Ole Rasha, Ole Shcheno. Shimon's camp was next to the red light district. So, woe to the wicked, and woe to what? The neighbors of the wicked, yes?
Where exactly did he stab them?
Rashi says he stabbed them through their intimate parts. That's what Rashi says. Rashi quotes the Gemara in Sanhedrin, page 18, that he stabbed them through their private parts. Okay? And he speared them both through, like a kebab. But anyway, all 24,000 victims were from I wonder, where are their wives? Sarah, out shopping, making a chulant. Where were the wives of these Shimonites? Hard to understand, right?
Maybe the husband said they were going bowling.
They're going bowling, right? But David, you're not far from... David, you know how right you are. This involved the worship of the Baal Peor. Now, in the pagan world, what was the drawing card for idolatry? Free sex. The pagan world, the drawing card, idolatry, was bound up with immorality and orgies. And this was Baal Peor. Says the Gemara Sanhedrin, David, you're sitting down. How did they worship Baal Peor? Bowel movement. They defecated in front of the idol. Bowel movement. How a person can degrade himself. This Avodah Zarah was worshipped by having a bowel movement. I think it's called mooning. They defecate in front of the idol. So it wasn't the idol, it was the immorality, the pornography. Like Rebbe today, it destroys people. You know how many families, good religious families, have been ruined because of the pornography on the internet? Do you have any idea? I don't want to say how many. Good religious families have been destroyed because of the pornography on the internet. Pornography on the internet and those chat sites. Good religious people, from people, can act so disgusting. The Yetzer Hara. If you think you can rest on your laurels, that's what he attacks. Vayeshev Yisrael. Sit back and relax. That's when you're the most vulnerable, no matter how great you are spiritually. And that's who he goes after, Satan. Joe the bum, he doesn't care too much. But to get a religious person, that's a cap in his feather. Or is it a feather in his cap? So what a powerful lesson that we have to learn here. That we have to continue to come to classes and don't say, I learned enough. You have to keep coming Sunday and Thursday, right? And more. We can't let our guard down. Sunday we have a great class at 2 o'clock. It's called Can the Chief Rabbinate Revoke Mrs. Trump's Gerut? Miss Trump's Gerut. Can the Chief Rabbinate revoke Miss Trump's Gerut? If he wins the White House, there'll be a Shabbos goy in the White House. That's Sunday at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Good Shabbos.